Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep-end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer ahead to learn more. See you this summer.
This week on the Eyrie, we look back at the most emphatic scrummaging performance of the season, discuss what Morgan Morris has to do to get in a Wales squad, and look forward to the last game of the season. Stay tuned. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Zach, joined by Grant and Josh as always. How you doing, boys?
Good.
Good evening.
Thank you.
As you might notice, there isn't a Jack on your screen. He's unfortunately had a ship ladditis come back in. Boring conference call. David has beautifully come in to replace him. How are you doing, Dav?
Good, thanks. Glad to come off the bench and see if I can do some impact. Who knows?
We might just need it coming down to the tension time of the season. Mind you, there's no real news this week. Main thing to say is we beat the Scarlets at home. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
I was just massively disappointed that the Knockers didn't score.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was in the gods, but yeah.
He was close with that Dan Edwards kick, wasn't he? If Dan Edwards' kick was on the money, he was a walk-in.
Yeah. Definite.
I think it's a performance defined by Dan Edwards kicking for at least 40 minutes. Given you got 22 points in the man of the match display, he was fucking awesome, wasn't he?
You know, the official man of the match is given to Jack Morgan, and considering this is his last home game, I can understand how we might have swayed things there. But Dan Edwards was outstanding, wasn't he? Great performance, great celebration at the end of the game.
Yeah, I thought I picked up on it. Not during the game, but afterwards, having seen it, and it just about make out it's the cap toss, you know. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of them. I think over the next few years, particularly in the West Wales derby. So it will. I think it's going to be a cult following for Dan. That it'll be, you know, when we're in St Helens next year. You know, I think we're all going to be, when he's kicking goals and scoring tries, we're all going to be doing the cap toss. Like it'll become the new Ayatollah for the Ospreys.
He did it right in front of me, and I did.
Brilliant.
I just saw him waving his arms about. I want to watch it back. Yeah.
I think with Dan, a loss made of his sort of actual speed, but I think it's his mental sharpness a lot of the time. Like, you saw how quickly he reacted to Hardy and how quickly he ran that line.
Yeah.
I don't think there are that many 10s who would react that quickly to the situation. Yeah, he was superb, to be fair. But he did miss, I think, 3 kicks to touch, was it? Off penalties.
Oh, yeah. The first half as well, which was just...
And I think he's been criticised in the past for not gambling for the corner.
Yeah.
And that's obviously part of his game now. He's going to have to be more decisive, and he's going to have to put a few hours in. I'm sure it'll be ironed out, but it was something that he seemed to be really keen to get it into that 5 meter point. But on 3 occasions when we really needed it, it didn't finish. But you know, we forgive him because other parts of the game he's absolutely outstanding, and it's great to do it against the Turks, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with that, to be fair. Because I think if you're going to ask your kicker to go for it, you kind of have to accept that occasionally it's not necessarily going to go out. And I'm of the opinion that I'd rather he goes for the 5 than plays it safe and he gets 10 metres every penalty, kind of Callum Sheedy-esque. I'd rather he goes for distance on his touch finders.
But what he didn't do, thankfully, he didn't go dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
If he goes dead, you really had it. But by going short, in a sense, not that he was like doing it on purpose, but in short, we were fortunate that they were kicking to touch, and it ends up an attacking line out, but only really about 5 or 10 meters further down their field than if he'd have been conservative anyway. So, you know, it'll come, you know. But like you're saying, I'd much rather they go for it and get into the corner rather than try and be shy with it, you know.
Can I just check the laws? If he does kick it dead, do you just come back for a scrum? So
Scrum,
go,
You
another
technically you
win
you
another
get the
head.
choice,
Yeah.
or of like a drop out or a scrum. So you
So-
can take a 22 drop out if you really want.
If I was them, I'd be taking a drop out, because otherwise we'd have the scrum and have another goal kicking in the corner.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
just
right.
again.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah, just being an infinite loop of scrummaging, kick it out, scrummaging, kick it out.
It's like Tom Boat was probably telling him, "Oh, look, just put it dead. I feel like scrum again."
Yeah.
I want to make Kenzie Mathias's life worse. I mean, it must be said, even though he missed free kicks to touch, that was out of a total of 19,
Yeah.
which Scarlett's disciplines honking in a way that I've never seen before, and it's just fucking hilarious.
And I think were there either 2 or 3 free kick from scrums for not engaging properly. So you add them as well. So the transgressions when it comes to being under pressure was over 20, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I was counting, I think I got to either 10 or 11 by half time, which is, I mean, that's just, you're not getting that back. And they needed to be squeaky clean the second half, and they just weren't. They had a good start the second half, don't get me wrong, but I mean, the scrums were just, you know, and like, all right, we are doing well in the scrums, and we're traditionally a very good scrummages side. And what's nice is we've got coaches who are taking props and they're making projects out of them. And the ironic thing, of course, is we've got 2 boys who Cardiff Blues have said are not good enough, and they've both come good with us, and both will now with Warren in the squad. Both have had exposure in Welsh squads. They would not have had if they'd stayed in Cardiff. And the other one, of course, well, 2 of them, Gareth Thomas and Stefan Thomas, are deemed not good enough for the Scarlets. So you're not even really talking about the likes of Adam, Duncan, Paul, Thomas Francis, who are really good test scrummagers. You're talking about these guys who are good because they've been coached by our coaches. And as much as the Scarlets, and I've got plenty of friends in work and you know, you read online or whatever, and they were trying to argue the toss about the scrums and they should have had penalties themselves, etc., etc. And it's like, well, boys, you can't argue about scrums after the game, particularly when you've got a bad reputation as a scrummaging side, and you've never had the better of us in the scrums anyway over 20 years. And we invest in scrummages. You know, it is in our DNA and we believe in it. The Scarlets don't. It's not part of their DNA. It's not part of their identity. Their identity is something else. You know, they do get the ball wide. They do contest in the air. They do look for quick ball to move. And that's how they define themselves. So don't argue afterwards by saying they're a better scrummaging side when they don't practice and they don't, you know, they don't.
Yeah.
So it's insulting in a way to rugby that you try to claim that you're superior in a facet of the game when you don't actually put the yards in. You know, we're guilty maybe of being too forward orientated. You can't take that away from us. So don't argue the toss that you're better than us when you're not. It comes through hard work, and we deserve that. We deserve our plaudits because we put a lot of hours and a lot of manpower and invested our coaches into our players.
Yeah.
Sometimes when scrums are fairly evenly balanced and you're not quite sure which way penalties are going, it's difficult, isn't it? But you look at the weekend and you had Matthias, who just struggled to stay up, and he was on his knees most of the game. So when he goes off, okay, the new tactic is tell you what, okay, we're not going to scrummage straight, and they got it looked better in terms of not going over and like scrums swinging around all over the place, but they got pinged and pinged and pinged, and deservedly so, unfortunately for them.
And when your second rows are running around to the side, you know,
Yeah.
in unison, and you can't argue. And there wasn't much, let's be honest, there was not much protestation from the Scarlets when they were conceding penalties, even late in the second half, when things were looking slightly different, but still they were under pressure. They weren't really protesting, you know, and it was an obvious transgression. They were spinning around, running around. The second rows were sidestepping. It was pivoting all, you know.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast earlier and I had Tom Du Toit on there, and he was talking a lot about how much reputation plays in to referees' minds when they're watching a scrum. And I think, exactly as you kind of alluded to, Daft, I think we've built such a reputation over the years of having a strong, dominant scrum. When referees see a certain picture, they're going to reward us for it. And we've built that over quite a long period of time now. But for me, the best thing was the fact that we know Tom Beaufort is going to be dominant in the scrum. He always is. But when we brought Garen on, when we brought Ben Warren on, they were just as dominant. They were still absolutely destroying their scrum. So it shows what depth we've got. And that's not including people like Rhys Henry, who's also a brilliant scrummager. We got 3 really good tight heads there, and Cian Hyatt coming through as well. That's 4 really strong tight heads. Bodes well for next season.
And when you look at resource, particularly in our kind of situation and the Welsh rugby, pro rugby situation, and you can flip it around and you can say, look, what we've got in our scrum and our traditional forwards, Scarlets have got in the backs. Okay.
Yeah.
So they invest in that type of rugby. That's their identity, and they get rewarded for it because, and also it puts us on the back foot, and we worry about how we kick to them. We were on the back foot, and we were tentative about how they were moving the ball, particularly when Max Page is getting touches.
Yes.
You talk about stats. The meters run by 4 of their backs, I think, and in the top 5. And the key thing, what I'm saying about squad balance is we are getting project players or young players up to speed by the time they're 25, 26, 27 to be props instead of them being 28, 29. So we're getting that into them, which means that we're not spending big bucks on props. So you're spending money and you're investing in coaches like Duncan. Obviously, Paul James is in the academy, but it's Duncan Jones's hard work really that's bringing all these players up to speed. And don't forget, Thomas Francis was better scrummager when he came under Duncan Jones than he was before that. He was always a good scrummager, but he became a much better scrummager when he was under Duncan's mentoring. So you put money into that aspect and a coach who's come from your club anyway, and you don't have to go looking for an Argentinian or a New Zealand or a South African coach, to come into your setup. And Duncan has come through the academy, so he knows all the players backwards, and that's the way you have to do it. Now, the Scarlets have done that in a sense with their backs, but we're doing it with our forwards. And it's good to see that we get rewarded for where we are concentrating our investment and coaching the players. In the same way, when you looked at the kick receive for the Scarlets, and I was watching the warm up about 10 minutes before the kick-off, they finished off with some counter-attack drills. And you're thinking, oh, that's good. And it was very accurate, Scarlets were. And their kicking and challenging in the air was really sharp in the warm-up. And lo and behold, it was tip-top in the game as well. And we looked underprepared and a bit undercooked under the ball. And it's not just about having big, tall, 6'4" men, because you could have a lump like Van der Merwe who can't win a ball in the air anyway. Or you could have a smaller player who's exceptionally good under the ball, like a Bieli Biare. Or even, in fairness, Blair Murray did really well under the ball on Saturday. So, it's where you put your resources. They obviously targeted 3 or 4 elements of the game. They got the ball really wide, really good on turnover. They contested really well for box kicks, exceptionally well in the first 20 minutes. And they also did really well in our line-out. And they marked Ryan Smith really well out of the game, and they pinched a lot of our ball. And of course, who runs their line out? Bradley Davis. So they did pull a number on us in the line out, and I have alluded to it previously in the chat off air. I don't think it was in their plan to concede penalties and scrums. Don't get me wrong, but they knew if we concede scrum penalties, don't worry. We will now switch on and we target the line out, and it's next job mentality. And they did. I think one line out was throw not straight, so the actual throws were pretty good, but they were getting hands in, they were getting a good lift, and they were early in the air, and it was very difficult to counter that. I know there's problems every week with a line out, but I thought on Saturday they did really well to nullify our line out.
It's an absolute cliche, isn't it, when you say, set piece wins games. Hang on a minute. one side of a set piece is absolutely immaculate, and the other side of a set piece has slowly deteriorated through the season as people have done their homework and they suddenly go, well, if you're playing us, just compete. Yeah. If you compete, okay, you will win ball. So it's uneven to me in terms of we put so much time into the scrum, and the scrum's like just succeeding against like big South African sides. We've generally held our own all of the time, and then you see our line out going that badly wrong again. So you watch other teams play, and it's so slick and so smooth. I'm just thinking, right, practice makes permanent, and what we're doing, okay, we do it again and again and again, and you see the odd occasion where we suddenly go short and just check into the guy at the front of the line and just move the ball quickly, and that's almost a sign, thinking, right, they've lost confidence in their own line now if they're doing that, and they do it multiple times in a game. So we're putting ourselves under unnecessary pressure there, and it showed in the score, didn't it, really? Because we gain in penalty after penalty after penalty. We should be dominating possession on the back of that. But possession even because we then would give it straight away.
Yeah, it does become a self-fulfilling prophecy, though, I think, our line out. Because it's been weak, teams target it, like the Scarlets game. Like the throwing, I don't think was massively off in the Scarlets game. But because it's been weak in previous games, teams will target it and try and read it, and have picked it off. So, yeah, it's hard to really see a way out of it. We've only got one more game this season, but hopefully it's something we can sort out before next season.
Yeah, I think the problems in the line-out as well when Dewi Lake is playing. Scott Baldwin is really good analysis-wise on the line-out, as you can imagine, because that's his game, isn't it? And he spoke about something that we wouldn't pick up on, and I don't play hooker, but so it's like he talks about the difference between Sam Parry and Dewi Lake's cadence of the throw. And so the players and the foot movement and the coordination to get off the ground with Sam Parry's cadence, they're much better coordinated with Sam Parry. His throw isn't as hard. He's got more of a lob. So there's more time to read the cadence of Sam Parry than Dewi Lake. Dewi Lake has naturally got what Scott Warden was saying was a faster cadence and a quicker throw. So you've got to really be much better in the air, and you've got to be quicker off the ground. And so, when I heard that, when I heard him say that, I started to look at how we were with a full line out, a 6 or a 7 man line out. We were really good with Dewi Lake because there's less foot movement. But on a 5 man, where you're walking in and you scan and you see the threat, and then you move to where the threat isn't, if you like, to try and get all that right with a faster throw and a quicker cadence, there's more error. And so Dewi Lake's stats on a 5 man line out not as good as a 6 or a 7. So, and that was quite noticeable when I started to think about it and watch it. It was quite noticeable. I hope it wasn't coincidental. But and then Parry's line out was a little bit more consistent, and it's more. And then you got Lewis Lloyd, who is new to it, but there were new problems with the newer player, if you like. So yeah, I think it'll take time to iron out. I think it'll be good that those two are not away in Welsh camp, and they're going to get the whole season through. And Evan obviously coming through as the third choice. He'll be, so that's going to be good, I think. But the Scarlets, they had. I thought Plumtree did really well. He's an extra as a 6. He's really good disrupting. Max Douglas had one of the best games I've seen him play, to be honest. And he's going. So they're losing him. So I think that'll be a bit of a loss for the Scarlets, to be honest. But there we are.
Currently, I don't think Scarlets have any locks signed for next season other than Harvey Chuckson. Because Sam Lalsey's not renewed. Jake Bull's just announced he's retiring today.
Yeah.
So it's just...
It wouldn't be like the Scarlets to underinvest in their tight 5.
No, never.
They'll have 7 centres,
I think there's a few props as well. I think a few props are on their way. I think 2 props are going. But, that's their problem.
Their problem, not our problem. Yes.
We've got our own problems to sort out.
In terms of recruitment, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that does pretty sum up the game pretty well. Line out and scrum, Wills and much else.
Well, the other thing for me was Owen Watkin in defence.
Oh,
They put so much pressure on us. Okay, they were so quick with moving the ball. Okay, Owen Watkin probably saved the selection of tries there, just on
I
his own.
remember he got one tap tackle against Max Page, which was like glorious because Max Page was gone.
Yeah.
And it sort of reminded me of against, remember his tap tackle against Duran van der Merwe, 21 Six Nations, last minute.
Yeah.
It reminded exactly
The Grand
of that.
Slam, yeah. Saved the Grand Slam, didn't it?
Oh,
Was it the Grand Slam? Yeah.
Well, save the championship at least.
Yeah.
It's
But he's
just-
like a kind of he's like the Teddy Sheringham, isn't he? You know,
Yeah.
he hasn't got the pace. He reads the game. He just gets to the right place all the time without actually busting a gut. He moves and glides to the right place. His positional play is perfect, and nobody panics around him either. You know,
it's just, I think he's so fucking strong as well. I think it's what other tap move, regardless. I think just before Plumtree's try, Eddie James was in a space and one-on-one going, Watkin drops him a metre in front of the line. It's just sort of, you don't get that out of any other centre in Wales.
well, his first hit as well on I think it was James right in midfield.
Yeah.
Eddie James's first carry, he absolutely buried him.
Yeah.
And I was looking, you see that, you see the scrums, and you think, we got these now because physically they just can't stay with us. But obviously the errors and just allowed them, and we didn't really capitalise first half with all those scrum penalties and all that territory and opportunity. We didn't capitalise, and we probably should have had another 2 tries out of it all. So we left that door open for them, and of course they have a breather. Second half comes round, and they get into their running much quicker than us in the second half, and it changed the momentum of the game then, plus the yellow card, you know.
Yeah.
No, we'll keep talking about Watkin in that on Monday afternoon, Wales announced their squad for the Summer Internationals, being a game against the Barbarians and away to Fiji in Cardiff City Stadium, away to Argentina, and then away to South Africa. They named a 48-man squad, notably with some big omissions. 2 names that probably most ranked Australia that have been left out be probably Owen Watkin and Morgan Morris. Owen Watkin has had a stormy end of the season. Morgan Morris, what more does he need to do to get into a Wales squad at this point?
Good question. He's come back with a bit of form, hasn't he,
Yeah.
as well? But
Yeah.
it's almost like I just feel as if he hasn't been picked yet, he's not going to be picked now. Look at the form he was in 3 or 4 years ago, and he was like off the scale. And I don't know. I feel sorry for the guy, but I think his time has passed. Unfortunately, I'd love to see him prove everyone wrong and get in. And if he does get the opportunity to show what he can do, but he normally beats people, doesn't he, with a step and then carries forward. He works really, really hard. But you look at the balance of the squad that they have picked, and it's unusual. It seems a little bit twisted to me. Again, it's almost like a bit Tandy-ish in terms of the way he's picked some big, solid, robust, hard-working players. Thinking, well, Morgan Morris fit in that mould as well then?
Yeah, I always think with selection, if you say someone has to be in, you have to say who he's going to replace in the squad.
Yeah.
And for me, I think the only person I could maybe think of is Keddy. I think he's probably unlucky to not be in ahead of Keddy. But yeah, I think the last few games he's been brilliant. I think he's really come into some form, as you were saying, Grant. And it was it kind of typified his work rate on that Joe Roberts break. His work rate to get back and get in that passing channel between Joe Roberts and I think it was Tommy Rogers prevented a try. And that's probably the sort of attitude I'd imagine you'd want in a Wales squad. It's sort of that never say die attitude. And I think, I think he's massively unlucky. And similar with Watkin, I think you're probably lacking experience if you look at the Welsh centres, and someone, even if he's not playing, but someone who makes really good defensive reads and can teach some of the other centres some of his attributes. Yeah, I personally think they're both quite unlucky.
The only one I would say that probably I I don't think Joe Roberts has shown enough really. And I think the others, like Louis Hennessy, is a bit of a generational player. I think he's really good.
Yeah.
I think I don't think Grady and Llewellyn really cut it as centres. But they can do a very good job on the wing. Obviously, there's Hawkins there, Ben Thomas, the particular type of inside centre. And then you've obviously got Eddie James there and Bryn Bradley. And Bryn Bradley's a massive, massive boy and he's young. So I think, like you say, who's in instead of him? You're probably looking at Joe Roberts. And I disagree with that, to be perfectly honest. The only difference is age. And Owen doesn't have the pace that he used to have, and the injuries have slowed him. But he does read the game particularly well. And I think you do need in the spine and in the squad, you need senior players to mentor those youngsters as well. And I'm not saying that Owen would make the start in 15 or maybe even the 23, to be honest, but to have him in the environment. And there's a lot of youngsters there who could learn from someone like Owen Watkin. The guy's been in World Cups, he's been in Grand Slam squads or championship squads. He's got a hell of a lot to offer, particularly all those youngsters,
Yeah, agreed.
It's like the oldest centre we've picked is Ben Thomas at 27, and I wouldn't necessarily call him experienced at international level.
Yeah, and they're not the best experiences, are they?
No.
With Morgan Morris, I agree with Keddy, but I think politically they've picked Kane James. They've got him in to get him capped as a specialist, number 8. And it's just a shame that we're not talking about Morgan Morse anymore. And he's just not getting picked for the Ospreys. And it's cost him, definitely the feedback to him in the autumn was, I haven't seen you play enough. Sorry, not the autumn, Six Nations, over the derbies.
Yeah.
I think he only had one appearance in the derbies, I think, in December anyway.
Yeah.
And Tandy basically said, look, I haven't seen you play enough. And he hasn't played much since then. I mean, he might have 20 minutes off the bench against Leinster now, but if we're not careful, we're going to lose the development of that boy. And I would certainly, I know we're going to be one less next year with Jack Morgan. I think he has to be played. I know Morgan Morris is playing well at the moment, but he can't play every game of the season. And I think they do need to rotate Morgan Morris and Morgan Morse next year.
I was going to say, with like Moriarty early in the season, I think sort of through September, October, Morgan Morse was excellent form throughout end of last season, just really hitting the highs. It's just really disappointing we've not seen him at all, almost lost like 3 months.
And we've also brought Ratty into 6, which I like. I like a big, tall, hybrid second row there because you're talking about line-out work, you're talking about the physicality, and I think Ratty's done a brilliant job. And he's a little bit unlucky as well because he's been, he is probably the best blind side at what he does in Wales. He's not the kind of fast off the back of scrums and around the field back row that we have seen in the Tandy squad, but he's the very much the kind of French, English, Argentinian English.
Feels very in the mould of Dan Elliott.
Yeah.
Smash people, works extremely hard. He's very unflashy, which, to be fair, is probably an archetype that doesn't really exist in the back row. The back row's all picked all fairly flashy in their own regard.
But he's also more of a line-out operator than Lydiat. He's he's that kind of hybrid second row, which I think is definitely the way forward for us as a team. And I'd like to see Wales do it, to be honest. I don't see Teddy Williams as a second row. I think he's going to be, if anywhere, he plays 6 at international level. He's not the big second row that we need,
I think with Morse, you kind of see the polar opposites in terms of how they were managed. If you look at them as under 20s talents, he's probably on a similar level to Pollock in terms of how much he stood out at that level. And I don't necessarily think we've developed him off the field as well as we could have. I'm still seeing the same player I saw at 20, where he has X factor moments in terms of his power and his carry and his speed off the scrum. Like I saw that at 19, 20, even 17, 18 when he played for under 20s. Whereas I think I don't see the development in the rest of his game. So until the rest of his game develops, he kind of becomes a luxury X factor player for me, where we need to see more of his graft inside. We need to see more work at the breakdown. We need to see more defensively in both sides of the ball. Otherwise, he doesn't get in ahead of Morris. He doesn't get in ahead of Ratty because he doesn't offer enough.
We don't see enough of him. He's not going to develop if he's not playing, is he? That's the issue.
And he's not even the 23.
Yeah.
On regularly not in the 23. And I know we've got Deves. I know we've got Jack Morgan. And that's probably the downfall at the moment, is that we've got Ratty, Moriarty, Deves, Jack Morgan, Morgan Morris. There's 5 there. You're only going to use 4 on a match day, and he's the 6th.
Yeah.
You know? He's the 6th choice back row player. You can't show me a better player who's 6th choice in any professional setup than Morgan Morse.
Yeah. That's nuts.
And it's I don't know whether he signed 1 year or 2 years, but unless he plays very soon after, in September, October, when everybody does their business before Christmas, if it's only a 1 year contract, he'll be gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see him going to Cardiff.
I'm just hoping that that with one less back row player, we'll be playing him a little bit more, particularly in the 23 anyway,
He screams to me as like that ideal number 20. He's just always going to bring impact, if not work rate.
Yeah. We haven't had a number 8 at under 20s level. I know Josh has said that he was the standout player in 20s and he hasn't progressed since then. He's still only 21. And this is his first year out at under 20s rugby. We haven't had a number 8 at under 20s level that's dominated against the big guns and carried and been a real nuisance to the opposition. I'm talking about England, South Africa, New Zealand, right, and France. We haven't had anyone like that since Faletau. He is a once every 15, 20 years player. And we should have had more out of him by now, I think. Who knows? It might have been niggles. It might have been other things. You don't know, do you? It might have been just bad luck, when it comes around. But, we do really need to maximise players like that. Otherwise, we're not gonna see potential come through,
It's a shame, really, but hopefully we'll see more of them next season. It's at this point with pods where I'm going to ask you, if you are enjoying it, to drop a like or subscribe. We're currently at 2,200 subscribers or something like that on YouTube. If we hit 2,500 by the end of the year, it would be utterly awesome. Other than that, Grant, were there any results in the community this weekend?
Just a handful. Let me share my screen. Right. Share. So just before we go on to the actual community results, just to put the Welsh Shield results on the screen. So yeah, we did finish top. Played 6, won 4, drawn 1, lost 1, and finished a point ahead of the WIU. Community results is only a couple now. Okay, we're down to the mopping up part of the season. Ystradron 39, Neath 31. Again, Neath was stuck in 4th and weren't going to go anywhere for the last couple of rounds. Championship East, Bridgend Athletic finishing well, 47-26 winners over Penasca. Championship West, Glenny 34, Dunvan 24. And Tartar Steel 26, Newcastle Emlyn 21. That's it. That's it this week. Like I said, there's a few more games to mop up the season involving a few of the clubs. So, but pretty much the league's done. Promotion and demotion are all sort of fixed already, as we talked about last week.
I've got one result to add to that, Grant.
Go on.
Alex Cuthbert's old club, Hucklecote, with their non-kicking fly-half, have won their cup semi-final on the weekend, so playing at Twickenham week on Saturday.
Four.
I've got to watch a Champions Cup final, otherwise I'd be there. Get it.
Bilbao, Twickenham. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Hey, good luck, boy.
Well, that's
Cheers.
superb effort. Do you score? Do you score?
What do you reckon, Grant?
4 points this season. 5 points, is it? 1 try.
Yeah, I've got as many tries as yellow cards, so I'm
Oh,
doing about as well as Tame Plumtree.
you don't sound like a fly half, Josh. You don't.
I'm certainly not a Dan Edwards, that's for sure.
So you don't kick and you don't run either. You just delegate.
100%. I'll point the forwards in the right direction. You're running that way, boys. There's a try line.
Good effort.
Cheers.
Good job, lad. I'll try and make the trip at this point. If nothing else, I want to see this non-kicking, just pure masterclass at 10. Balls at the back.
Well,
40 million
I'll
missed passes. Expecting a lot.
I'll share the link to the game in the group chat, so whoever's not there can watch it back.
So
Brilliant.
It's worth talking about the Ospreys' last game of the season, when Leinster away. How do we feel about this? Because I'm incredibly not very fussed.
I'm going. Friend of mine is desperate to watch an away game, Greg. So he's missed out on the other away trips we've done. So he said, "Come on, then. We've got 2 away games left. Oh, one of them's Cardiff. Right? Okay, that doesn't count. Okay, right. We're off to Dublin. So I'm looking forward to an away trip, and I've never seen Ospreys lose in Dublin, which means I haven't been there that many times, isn't it?
It means when you go, it's special, which, it's always fun.
Yeah. I think Leinster have got a big game the following weekend, and do they normally sort of rest their players before the biggest game of the season? No, they don't normally do. They normally have a practice run out. I'm a bit concerned about that. I'm hoping that they don't to their thirds, but maybe not.
I think Leinster haven't guaranteed top 4.
No.
The Lions could still pip them, and even then, if the Bulls win and Leinster lose, I'll be playing Munster at home, which for Leinster isn't a particularly enticing fixture. They're still gunning for top spot, and I think they're going to be gunning for it. I do not think they're going to have much rotation. Although they'll be probably starting Rico Ioane, so their first, and if nothing's going past the 13 channel.
Do you think we'll go first choice? Jack, and we'll go for players like Jack Morgan, Jack Welsh, knowing they're not going to be around next season, or do we have to go full strength because it's Leinster away and we're going to get battered if we don't?
Jack play, doesn't he? Jack is desperate to play. If there's an opportunity for him to get on the pitch, he'll be on the pitch.
Oh, I think so. I think they're going to go full strength as much as they can. And I think this is a good time to play Leinster. If there is a good time to play them, it's when they're slightly distracted. It's not an international window where you are weak and they've got their seconds out.
Yeah.
We are going to be as strong as we possibly can. They're going to be slightly distracted. They'll have one eye on next year. They don't see the URC as their kind of ambition anymore. It's all about Europe with them. They want to be top table in Europe. So everything. I know they can try and be as professional and prepare properly for the next game, etc., and they will. But it's human nature to be distracted and to be mindful of what the biggest challenge is. They've worked really hard to get to the final of the European Cup. It is going to be in the back of their mind. It is going to be their kind of burning desire. So I think it's you've got to hang on to those things, haven't you? I'm not saying we're going to win, but I think all those things put together, and at Jack Morgan's last game, Jack Walsh, hopefully he'll be playing. Maybe some of these players want to prove a point. People like Ratty, Morgan Morris, Owen Watkin, even some of our wingers as well. Keelan Giles, he's been a fantastic season this year. Keelan Giles has a couple of injuries, but he's been superb.
Well, yeah, he's come back, hasn't he? He's had 20 minutes in the last game. You would have thought he'd be starting in this one, right? He's ready, he's fit, he's well.
Yeah.
As long as he's come through it okay, he'll be starting, which is great news.
Yeah.
I also think, I do agree Leinster will go first choice. But I think if you were Leinster, you're probably looking at, you've got 2 weeks to prepare for Bordeaux. So in terms of analysis and that sort of stuff, I can't see them going to the depth Scarlett did in terms of looking at our line out and unpicking that as well as they did. So there's a couple of percent to be had here and there in terms of they'll probably want to put some stuff on the pitch against us that they'll look to put on the pitch against Bordeaux as well a week later. So will they be fully, as you say, will they be fully focused on us, or will they have one eye on the game next week?
I must say, beating them would be really funny.
We've done it before end of season with the youthful side, haven't we? Done it a couple of years back.
Remember the time Josh Thomas run the show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, 50-meter kick, charges it down and scores to win the game.
It's a player we could be targeting for next year to be a handy squad member, you know?
Cork is a really boring place to live. I lived there 3 years, as you know.
I thought it was quite good. I thought Coventry was a capital of culture.
Having the pint days, was it?
Yeah, nice statues.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's, he's fit again. He's playing well, but he's playing second division English rugby, isn't he? Sorry, second tier, not second division.
Yeah, the second tier of England isn't that bad anymore, to be fair.
And he's young. I mean, he's same age as Luke Scully.
Yeah. 22 or
25, 26.
25, 26. Yeah.
Yeah. That is a position we obviously need to strengthen. And I think Scarlets are in the same situation. They could be in a situation where in the international window, you've got Leggett, Jones, who's still playing 20s. You've got Hawkins, obviously, and Costello, all with Wales. So they're down to whoever's next cab on the rank. Is it Jack Lloyd or someone? I don't know. But we're in a situation, we obviously, with Dan Edwards being with Wales, you've got one outside half in Luke Scully, who hopefully will get opportunities next year, but you can't enter into any period of rugby with only one outside half. Yeah. So you're going to have to find someone. Personally, I'd love to see Sam Davis come back. I think he's got another year, I think.
I don't know. He's had a very weird season. He's been really quite injured.
Yeah, I think he had a virus, didn't he?
Yeah. I think got infection off of surgery as well, which is just.
Oh, that's what it was. Sorry.
Still pretty grim.
Yeah.
All up.
I'm sure there's good news on the way, Grant. Can you allude?
No, I can't.
Is that because there's no news, or is that because you don't want to give us the news?
I can't. There we are. How's that? I haven't got names, but yeah, I can't say any more.
Yeah.
I did have a chat with our CEO on the weekend, and I can't repeat any of it. There we are.
Is Bowden Barrett going to be playing at St Helens next year?
I haven't got any names. What we need to do, again, the one thing which is public is the fact that we still haven't signed the PRA. Till our PRA is signed, how are we supposed to sign a player and offer him more than a year's contract?
Yeah.
So
we're going to go into the off season, and our recruitment team and coaches are going to be busier than any other period of time. Not saying that they all head off to the sun, but it's ironic that we're actually going to finish the last game of the season. We haven't got a squad settled for next year publicly. Again,
when PRA 25 is signed, we can offer people 2-year contracts. The only people you're going to get on a 1-year contract at the moment is someone who's either not very good or someone potentially who's coming to the end of their career, thinking about hanging up their boots, and it's like, do you fancy one last year? A Stephen Myler type figure.
Yeah.
So we shall see. So fingers crossed things are sorted soon, and we can hit the accelerator again, make some announcements, and sign some people before anyone else snaps them up.
Well, we need to sign the PRA, announce players, and then sell season tickets.
Yes. Confirm what St Helens is going to look like, and then sell season tickets for when people are excited, going, look at the players come in, look at the ground we're going to have, we know what we get in, we'll sign up first.
Yeah.
it's a bit of a. Let's hope we'll have it go through these tumultuous times as well. All right,
I in that order.
yeah. To finish things up then this evening, Leinster away. Score prediction, something funny. Josh, John, lead us off.
Score prediction, I'm going to go Leinster by 20. And you'll have to come back to something funny.
Oh, I'll go Leinster by 15. I'll go Leinster by 12. Maybe they're not entirely focused, and this is our last hurrah of the season. In terms of funny, no, I might have some funny stories to bring back, but I can't see anything funny happening for us on that pitch.
Ospreys by 1.
Good boy.
That's my funny thing.
Yeah.
No, Ospreys by 1, and the funny thing is going to be a more rugby one, and I think the Dragons are going to beat Scarlets, and they're going to smash them up front, and I think you're still going to hear kind of people blaming the ref for not being able to understand the scrum and stuff, but that'll be funny.
That will be fine. I think Ospreys by 3. But my funny thing is Rico Yarni is going to drop the ball over the line, clean in, and he just sort of completely fluffs it.
Someone's going to cut Snyman in half. That'll be funny.
Or Harry Deves doing it again.
Yeah.
I think that's all we've got time for tonight, gents. Cheers for joining me. Grant, enjoy Dublin.
As soon as I get back from Dublin, I'll be on the right to rugby for Osprey in the community as well. So it's going to be a hell of a 10 days coming up.
I hope you stay very well hydrated.
So good.
Until then, boys, thank you for joining.